All right, we're live. I pray that this audio does not have an echo and that it doesn't do anything insane, man. I'm trying to stick with it, but this is kind of how life goes. If this ain't a metaphor for life, I don't know what is. Like sometimes you're going to do everything right. You're going to commit to the things that you said you were going to do, and a wrench is going to be thrown in the plan. And you got to be ready. You got to be ready to stick and move. And so since the last video that I uploaded it was a hot mess audio wise. I scraped it from the channel. I'm gonna bring it back to you. Same situation, same energy, same message. All right, so stick with me here because I know I can be all over the place, but it's important. And the message that I was telling you, whoever's listening, or if it's my kids in the future, whoever it is that you absolutely cannot expect to win in this life if you are always waiting for permission to get started. And when I say permission to get started, some people are looking for an authoritative figure to tell them, hey, I need the government to tell me, hey, it's okay, with your health care or with your finances or with whatever, just get the job, just get the 9 to 5, do what everybody else is doing. It's okay. Sometimes you got to trailblaze, man. You got to invent things that have never been invented before. You have to do things that you've never done before because conventional wisdom gets you conventional results. You know what I'm saying? And man, if that is not the theme of the week for me this week, it's like sometimes we create our own, right? We become our own roadblock into getting the things that we know we should be doing done. Oh, I can't record. The audio is messed up. I got to sit back here and, I got to wait for a technician to come and fix it, or I got to do X or Y or Z. You come up with a million excuses. And it's funny because the more excuses that you look for, the more you're going to find. So I've made it my mission to start looking for solutions rather than permission, right? In any aspect of my life, I want to be able to give good messages to millions of people. It starts with being able to do it right for one person, and that's you guys. And I hope you're understanding what I'm saying today. Just because a roadblock forms in your pathway with whatever you're doing today, and I know this is deviating quite a bit from, the stock talk, the money talk, the economy talk, but I just need you to lock in right here because it's Monday morning. I'm trying to get ready. I'm trying to shake off the weekend and get into this week, come out swinging. If a roadblock does appear in front of you for whatever reason, with whatever you're trying to do, please don't take that as like a sign from the universe that, oh, I'm doing the wrong thing. It is inevitable that if you are going to do something great, you are going to run into roadblocks. You're going to run into challenges. That's the beauty in, people say, oh, the journey, you got to love the journey. It's kind of head ass, but it's true. It's true. The journey is what shapes you into becoming who you're destined to be. Okay. I hope you're following me here. For example, let's say, you're trying to take a business from here to there. You have no idea how it's going to happen. And like I said, you've got my little voice chirping in your ear saying, don't wait for authority to tell you when it's time to go. It's just, you got to make it happen. People always say, well, Hunter, that's way easier said than done. How does that work? It works by creating a plan. The same way that I taught, for you to build out a plan whenever it was saving your first $1,000, it's just at scale. If you want it to be your first $1 million, then make it your first $1 million. I'm not making it complicated because it doesn't have to be complicated, and it's not really complicated. We complicate it because we think it has to be. Make a plan. If you don't know what it feels like to make $100,000, that's okay. Start from the $100,000, your goal, and work backwards. When you have $100,000, what are you going to do with it? Okay, boom. And then you say, okay, well, this is how it's going to look. So at $100,000, it's sitting there and I want to put it all into Bitcoin, right? I want to buy a whole coin. Fabulous. Fantastic. All right, so let's start working it backwards. How did you get there? Well, I probably had some kind of business that was making me, $10,000 a month. Boom. Beautiful. Okay, so now we start working it backwards. Well, what is the business that you were doing? Well, I don't know. I created a synthetic hair company. Okay, awesome. So now what you need to start doing is researching what it takes. You need to make sure that you know how to form an LLC. Don't hire somebody to go and do it unless you really, really think you need to. You can do it for free. Go online. You have AI now. That makes everything so much easier. Like, people want to rag on it and shit on it all the time. I'm not with that. You know what I'm saying? Yes, there are problems with it, but if you see that there's a problem, you can fix it other than complaining and tapping your fingers and doing the bare minimum. But I digress, right? You have to work your problems retroactively. If you can't seem to get from 0 to 1, then go from 100 backwards. Like, there's so many ways for you to be able to tackle these problems. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people think that when they hit roadblocks, that's just saying, oh no, you were never supposed to be doing what you're doing. Grab the reins, y'all. I say this in multiple videos. This is not the first or the last time you'll hear me say this if you've seen any of my videos. We've been taught everything backwards. Everything in life. When we were educated in school, we were taught that we were going to sit down. Somebody that was an authoritative figure was going to tell us what's going on. They're going to teach it to us a little bit, maybe, if you even had good teachers, right? And then you were going to be given a definitive date in the future, and they said, hey, on this date, we're going to take a test, and you need to know this information. And you stressed at home, and you studied, and you looked at all these books, and then you got there, and you took the test, and then that determined whether or not you were successful. If you had memorized enough of the material, then that's great. You threw it out of your mind, and it was on to the next lesson. You had to ask to go pee. It was just ridiculous, right? It was just absolute anal retentive minutia all the time. You always had to have this strict regimented schedule. Then you got out into the real world, domain expansion. Anything is possible. You can do anything. You can be anywhere. And, barring doing something unethical and absolutely insane, the world is your oyster. And you're sitting here like, my whole life I was told what I had to do, and I don't know. I don't feel confident. And you have to shake that. You have to shake that imposter syndrome off you. You were educated and taught growing up your whole entire life even. Maybe you even went to the military, right? You were really regimented then. And it was like as if you had to always wait for a command from somebody. But whenever you're in the real world, if the life that you want is larger than the life of the majority of the people that are around you in your day-to-day life, then you have to do something different. You have to do something different. That means going out, doing the research, right? Maybe 9 to 5, you're out of commission. You got to work for a living. I understand that sucks. Like, trust me, I get it. But that time that you have between getting your whole entire family together, getting them ready, because trust me, I carry my dad up 6 flights of stairs twice a day. I get it. I have to make sure I wipe his tail. I got to feed him. I got to make sure that his medications are on top of his game. I've got to make sure that he's got good vitamins. I'm making sure that everything, all these little pieces are moving. I don't have kids, but if I did have kids, it would be the same way. I got to cook for my family. I got to make sure they're eating right. Because if they're not healthy, guess what? That falls on my shoulders. That's something else I got to carry. Like, don't let these things be excuses. Figure it out. If you only have 30 minutes a day, 2 hours a day, then you better make it count. You better make it count. But waiting and hoping and wishing that good fortune is going to fall on top of you and you're just going to have the life that you always wanted, if you want a grand life, it's not going to happen. And I hate to be the person to tell you that. I hate to be the person to say, look, everything that you've ever learned, the processes and, plans that were put in place in front of you that weren't your own, none of that's actually useful to you. I hate to be the one to break that to you, but it's the truth. Make yourself a plan. Spend that time doing the things that you know you ought to be doing, and even researching the things that you don't know that you've got to do. So that way you can achieve the life of your dreams. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating whenever, at least for me, whenever I was like, what do I do? Like, I have all of these visions of things that I want to accomplish, and I feel like I'm so close, but I'm so far. The problem was you weren't planning properly, and you were allowing any kind of roadblock to get in front of you. On top of that, number 2, you have to be willing to become a student again. Like, I was just having this conversation with the love of my life on the way to work this morning, dropping her off, and I was like, it's so humbling when you look up and X amount of years has passed by, and all because you weren't willing to be a student, you're still in the same place that you were before. And guess what? You're still going to be a student at the end of it. Do not be afraid to be a beginner. Everybody always wants to shit on a beginner because, you don't know what's going on. You're still wet behind the ears. But I promise you, if you take the time to humble yourself and genuinely go back to the basics, to the ground floor, find the things that you weren't so good at and work on those just obsessively. So much good could come of your life. Once again, with school, when we were given bad grades, we were kind of, it was like shamed. You're handed your paper face down. I don't know. I hate to say this, but like I got really great grades in school. I took my SATs in 7th grade, actually, my SAT and my ACT in 7th grade, and I was taking college classes by the time I was a freshman in high school. But in college, my grades were really not that great. So I understand, I feel it at a very real level, right? There's so much stigma. You get the piece of paper and they fold it and they go, and it's got like office hours scribbled in big red ink. You know what I'm saying? Do not let the PTSD of our failed education system hold you back from your potential as an adult. Do not let it. Failure as a child results in you being held back a grade, or, your marks are a little bit lower than you wanted them to be, or whatever, a deviation of the educational pathway that you were sent down in that pipeline, right? But as an adult, the consequences are dramatically less. Like, yeah, sure, there's people who could say, well, I make a mistake on my taxes, I go to prison for infinity years, and I make a mistake or I have a bad day in this way, and blah, blah, blah. I get that. Just stay with me. Don't deviate and use extreme examples with me and try to argue in the comments or send me crazy DMs. You know what I'm trying to say. If you take a class, a culinary class, you're learning, a trade skill, and your welding looks like shit on a stick. And nobody's going to ride on the bridges that you're welding, because if they do, it's going to be a catastrophic failure. It is okay to be a beginner. It is okay to be learning how to do something. What is not okay is to give up on yourself. Good Lord, we are so afraid to fail in any facet, any aspect, to not see progress immediately, that we will stop ourselves from actualizing our potential because of PTSD. It's not real. It doesn't exist. None of it's real. All the things, those demons that you are just sprinting, running away from, just in anguish every day and night, tortured, waking up in a cold sweat. You can't get a good night's sleep. You're gaining all this weight because your cortisol is up to your freaking neck all the time, and it's just like a vice grip on you. If failure meant that you could never win, I can promise you the most successful business people that you can name, the Elon Musks, the Jeff Bezos, the Zuckerbergs, the Carl Icahns. Man, Carl Icahns still fucking up, and he's old as hell. I need you to literally sit back for a minute and think about all of the things that you've been most afraid of, that you've managed to, if you're living right now, you've made a mistake and you lived to tell the tale. The reason why all of these people who are majorly successful, you see them on social media, you see them in the news, in person even, the reason why they're able to maneuver and work the world the way that they are and shape it how they wish is because they failed a fuck ton of times. They failed over and over and over and over again in different ways. And in the same way, when they were brought to that same test, like we were in school, right? You get tested over and over again in life. Over and over until you learn the lesson. And then the next time that problem comes up in front of you, you know how to stick and move, baby. You know how to stick and move. You always wonder how there's people who they live life and they make it look so sexy. There's no problem that comes up where they're like, oh my God, I'm stressed. Oh, and they're breathing heavy and their anxiety is they're frosty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Frosty. That's because they've made a lot of mistakes in their life. And they realized, this thing I was so scared of, you solve it like this. And you only got to learn a lesson one time in the real world. You only have to learn it once. But if you don't learn the lesson, you're going to keep making that same mistake. And every time that lesson's brought back to you, if you're lucky enough to have the opportunity to fail again, potentially, you're going to keep going through that same cycle. And that's why you see all these people who are in Gen Z, who are millennials, Gen X, boomers, like poor Gen Alpha. They're too young right now for me to really go hard on them yet. But give me 10 years and I got you. You see all these adults with arrested development because they have so much just shame and stigma and PTSD from their childhood. Every time that they failed, they got, punished so severely. Nobody's going to come and punish you. You've got to figure your shit out, though. Nobody's coming to save you either. And I really don't need the message to be much deeper or much longer or much bigger than this. This is what I want from you. Today, whatever it is that you know, like, it makes your heart sing. You wake up in the morning and, like, you say your gratitudes, you wiggle your toes and your fingers and make sure that all your body parts are functioning right. And, you lean up and the first thing that you think about that brings you joy is blank. That's probably, most likely, your purpose in life. So you have to figure out what it is, number one, how you can start implementing the little bits of time you have in your day to building upon this. Like, don't think this is like a 6-month challenge. No, this is your life's vocation. You got the rest of your life. I'm 28. When I'm 88, I pray that I can close that book and say, you know what? I did what I needed to do. I did what I needed to do. I'm going to inhale on earth, exhale in heaven, and I'm going to be rewarded for the work that I did, the positive contributions to this world. I want that for you too. Every time that you're hitting the charts and you've got this vision in your head, like, yo, I'm getting out of this job, this boss that's telling me to do morally dubious things, and I don't like it. The people that I'm surrounded by are on the same wavelength as me. I'm trying to accomplish X, Y, and Z. Like, bro, now's the time to lock in. And not on some New Year's resolution stuff. Like, we haven't even had Thanksgiving yet. So you can you got 45 days of extra runway before all the other people with their New Year's resolutions start locking in too. You can do this, man. I don't have too much more to say to you guys. I just want you today to start off your week on fire. On fire. Do not wait for somebody to tell you that it's okay to go. Just start. Build the plan. If you can build it from the ground up, great. If you want to build it from the top down, great. You already know what you've got to do. Is it going to be easy? No. But the person that you become on the journey to becoming what you want to be, that's the essence. That's the point. That's what we're doing here, okay? So it's Monday. Love y'all. Hope your week is starting off as fiery as mine is, because Lord knows I'm on fire. I'm about to go take a 70-pound weight vest and go for a 7-mile ruck. So I do it 7 days a week, baby. We got goals to accomplish, all right? I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.